Summer can be a time to kick back and take time to reconnect with friends without the pressure of school and work schedules. It's also a great time to travel. So, why not combine the two, kind of, sort of, and travel with work friends? Someone I know has been doing just that and gallivanting around Europe. And Jeremy Hauser, I give you and Christina a lot of credit because you did it without the kiddos. I mean, how did you do it? How did you manage?
Systems work, people fail. Welcome to InsureMark's Advisor Mentorship Podcast with Vice President Jeremy Hauser.
Oh, Patrice, it was a process for sure. It was we had the opportunity to get a chance to be invited on a cruise, which was, by the way, the first cruise I've ever been on in my life, and also checked off another bucket item list. So actually traveled to Europe for the first time ever. So I've never gone across the pond. So that was something that was definitely you just can't pass this up. So we ended up moving forward. We did the Celtic.
The Celts are the basketball team. Celtic is the ethnic.
I knew you'd clean me up on it. So
I'm an O'Brien, honey. My mom's an O'Brien's.
Anyways, so the Celtic cruise. So we ended up actually going to, so we went out, flew to London, and it was for 9 days. So 9 days with, interesting enough. So we hear about, the cruise and everything. And it's like, man, this is something that is like definitely on a bucket list item. And my wife and I are chatting about it. And the date of when the actual trip begins is our infamous week moving forward, July 26th, all the way to August 2nd. So do you know what happens on July 26th?
Well, it's no holiday that I can remember.
I know you shouldn't know what that is, but maybe you did. So July 26th is actually Olivia's birthday.
Oh,
So
no.
in that same week, so to add to the all the celebrations, it was amazing.
Oh, and the boys.
It's an amazing week. July 22nd is Patrick's. You got Harvey on the 25th, and then Olivia, sweet Olivia, is on the 26th. And we were actually going in a day early because we, at our team here within our company, we actually had about 10 advisors or so that qualified for the event. So they were going to join us with their spouses, and some of them are bringing kids. So it was about 39 people. A lot of individuals. So basically, they went to Mamma Mia in London on that night. So it was actually going to be on the 25th that we were actually needed to be out in, or at least near London for that day. So we would have had to fly out basically on the 24th. So my wife said that's not happening because Harvey turns 1 on the 25th. So,
big one, yes.
Yeah, and we actually have a tradition. So, and it was fine, and we ended up going a day later, but we got there on time to get to the boat. So our tradition for Harvey and just for all the kids on their first birthday is very simple. In the morning, they get a donut. So they actually eat one of their first donuts, and so it's just been our little deal. Nothing, too over the top, but he was crushing some sugar, and just seeing those little eyes light up, little different. But we ended up having also earlier that week, so it was pretty busy. We did a pretty good sized party here at the new house. So we ended up having our backyard recently renovated, and then we had some of Patrick's teammates over for his big 6th birthday. So it was a big week, and then we took off and headed off to London.
As you say, that's got to be what, 6 months in the planning. You can't just throw that together at the last minute.
No, you can't do that. And we, and also actually within the time frame too. So I'll go a little detail of it. We also went to a concert. It was actually amazing. So since we were there, we ended up staying an extra day in London because there was just so happened my favorite band about 2 months ago or 3 months ago, they actually came here to Houston. I talked to, I think I posted about this on LinkedIn and some of the other social media sites, but my favorite band is Empire of the Sun. I now know that you have at least looked up
I
their
did. I
music?
did.
Have you heard of any of their music before?
I read the names. I read the names.
I know it's not Hey 19, it's not your Steely Dan.
Oh, it's not Steely Dan. No.
It was fun though. We ended up so literally amazing trip. I'll talk about the trip here later on, but my wife ended up just ironically enough, August 2nd, the day that we were supposed to be flying back, Empire of the Sun was performing in London. So it was just one of those, it's tough. We couldn't pass it up because I've been waiting years, like over a decade, to hear them. I heard them in Houston, but it's like, man, what an experience to actually hear this band in London. And the venue was outstanding. So,
Where was it? Because I did see some of the things you posted. Where was that venue?
oh, you would ask me that. It was called
It looked fantastic. Old buildings and then the big stage.
Old Royal Naval College. Old Royal Naval College. Not the best part of London, by the way, but the college was really incredible. Like it was a festival. So they actually headlined the festival. It went on from like 2 to 11. So that's one thing too, right? Just traveling over in London. I've never been there. The airport was enormous. We actually stayed at that airport that night. So Heathrow, I think that's what it's called. So we stayed at that,
Yeah.
at that airport, and basically we took a train. So we took a train. The concert was like an hour and a half outside of where we were staying. So we took a train for the first 30 or so minutes, and then we ended up just getting dropped off somewhere to go to another train. But then as we got off the train, I was like, man, this is incredible. We were in the city. So I was like, oh, let's actually walk around a little bit and check this stuff out. So then we just caught an Uber and learned some things about London. And it was so uncharacteristic of us, honestly, to do all this. But it was like, you only live once, and we got an opportunity to go there. Welcome to the revolution. Fueled by agility and an innovative product engine, Revel One Financial is excited to introduce the Interest 10 Income FIA, their latest fixed index annuity. With a powerful guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit, it delivers income for life with the potential to grow each year. Talk to your clients about Interest 10 Income if they want to know today how much guaranteed lifetime income they could receive. If they're looking for protection against the rising cost of living, and if they want a lasting income they can't outlive even when the account value hits zero. Pretty nice. Get all the details at revel1financial.com. Revel One Financial, revolutionizing the norm.
And who knows? I'm sure you'll go back again. London is wonderful, but to do it and on the spur of the moment, that's great. That's great. And look at it. You got there a day late, so you had to make up that day. You had to stay over that extra day.
Yeah, we made the most of it. An incredible concert. The venue, like I said, it's awesome. If you ever look online, Old Royal Naval Naval College, it was incredible. So it's a concert. They called, or the actual show, I think it's like Labyrinth or something, in Empire of the Sun. They headlined it 6 years ago. They came back to it, and it was just great. I've nothing but like an awesome experience. It was in itself. But getting back to the topic, but yeah, so it was pretty tough. So we had the kids, had their birthday, then we went out. We had this week long of festivities, and about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, we made a decision that we're going to hire somebody to actually stay at our house during that process. So that's why I wasn't really posting too much while we were overseas. And so for the most part, somebody stayed here at the house with the kids just so we had coverage. And then basically they stayed at the house, but also we went through a process where we hired somebody as well for the summer to help out around, to help with the kids. So we had an extra set of hands that has been great with like Olivia and the older kids. So the person who was actually staying here was more, not just for all three, but mainly for Harvey, focusing on the little one. And so, yeah, sure enough, it's like we've been looking down the road for the last, I'd say 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. And you're like, all right, that week's coming and it's going to be so incredible, but also it's very stressful. And then, but it all worked out.
Was this the longest you've been away from the kids?
Oh, for sure. Oh yes. Not even close. So we were, 9 days, I guess 10 days total, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look, but London has that whole 6 hours ahead time frame. So what we had to start doing is we would just record videos and then we send it to every day of like a text message to to the person that was watching them. and then she'd play the videos for them. We just give them a recap of, how was yesterday? This is what's going on today. This is what you're going to be doing. And so Harvey would hear it. So that's why we couldn't just do FaceTime, because Harvey just starts screaming and like crying because he's like, where are they? So she'd have to play the video in front of the kids.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
I hope
But
you
yeah.
brought them back nice presents.
oh, we did. They do have a Disney. They have a Disney in a couple places. So, but it was fun. It literally, have you gone, or when was the last time you went to some of those countries in Europe?
I was in Iceland a couple of years ago. That was the latest. Before that, I've been in Switzerland, and I have a friend who lives outside Paris, so I've been there a couple times, and around that area, Germany.
Okay. Yeah, one thing I did notice is, so we went to some of the countries. We flew into London, we went to Ireland, then Dublin, then we went to Belfast. For Belfast, we went to Liverpool, and then from Liverpool, we We ended up in Scotland and then Glasgow. So that's basically the whole
Yes.
cruise itself.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had some pretty solid countries. We made, and a beautiful ship. The company, the partnership that we were with, they rented out the boat. So it was a seaborne cruise. It was amazing. Like literally nothing but first class, and standards were just way above standards of expectations. But the one thing I did notice in Europe, though, is it's a lot different in a couple of ways. And one of them very noticeably is a little bit on the service side when you go to restaurants in comparison to the US. I don't know if depend on where you were in Europe or your last interaction with it, but you could just tell, because usually tips in Ireland and other places, not really so. Ireland, Dublin, that was actually good service. But as we went closer to like the UK and we started going to like Belfast was probably the least favorite of mine. But we also had we went out to eat. The person who was the waiter there, it's almost like a joke, where they just hand you the menu. They don't give you waters, and then like you have to call them over, and then they're like, "Oh, how can I help you? Can we get some waters and stuff?" Oh, okay. And then they walk off, but then you have to like wave them back over. It's like, "Hey, we're ready to order." So like you could just tell, because there's no tipping for service there, that I don't know, it just moves slower than what we're used to over here.
Ireland, I enjoyed.
Ireland was great. Dublin and Ireland, amazing.
Yeah.
Once we got closer to UK, it was a little different. So Ibexus is excited to introduce the Dynamic FIA Allocation Tool, built to help contracted advisors deliver stronger results with greater confidence. With this powerful, easy-to-use tool, you can tailor allocation strategies by product and index, choose between diversified or custom approaches, and even compare your plan to an S&P 500 only strategy. Pretty cool. Whether your goal is to boost growth or reduce the risk of zero return years, this tool puts smarter solutions at your fingertips. Log in to the Ibexus Agent Portal and click on Resources and start exploring today to get your hands on this unique tool that's live today.
So you were talking about all the people you were with. How many people were there? Why were they there? And you knew them all, and I think you had two kind of special people there.
Oh yeah. We did have two very special people there. So one of our partners that basically, it was an opportunity for some of the top performers. They got to go on the cruise. So some of our 10 advisors, they had the opportunity to actually go out there as well. So me and Christina, and then those advisors, their spouses, were out there, and just really getting a chance to chat with them. And obviously we're seeing these amazing places and having like just unbelievable experiences that you just don't get just obviously just off the street. And everything was first class, A+. The company that actually put it on and put it together for us, they always do things way over the top, and just like I said, set the bar at a certain level to where you're just like, it's just hard to pass up some of these opportunities. And two of the people that actually were on this ship were Jeremy Siegel and Robert Schiller. And I can actually say, former guests of the podcast.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. And so we actually had an opportunity in one of the business meetings that we had while on the ship. They did a fire chat. So it was interesting kind of hearing them too. That was the first time that they've been together talking on stage together in quite some time, that are actually in a live in-person setting. So been a very long time since that's happened. They actually, a year ago, I think it was episode like 63 or something of the podcast they were on. And that was the first time that they actually were together in a virtual setting, but actually together sharing their input on the economy. Was actually on the podcast. So pretty
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Feel like a finger on the pulse.
Old times, right?
Yeah. We just, and one of the guys walked up, actually Seal just walked up to me and said, "Hey, good afternoon, Jeremy. How you doing?" I said, "Hey, no, it's okay." Yeah, that didn't happen. But yeah, so we got a chance to listen to them. A lot of interesting things they said about the economy. We talked a little bit in person. Mr. Siegel and I, we continued our conversation we had earlier this year. So in January, we actually had a podcast. It was just me and him talking about the Trump administration economy on 2025, that a lot of people enjoyed that episode. But we furthered that and started talking about a little bit on Bitcoin and gold. And he's in the camp of Bitcoin. I could tell you that. He's a pretty big believer. So it was good just hearing, being around these great people, having access to listen to some of their wisdom, and yeah, it's a good time.
So you said you had business meetings. This wasn't just all pleasure?
Oh, no. Well, I would say a lot of it's pleasure, even in the business meetings, because we're hanging out with, some of the experience was great itself, but still there was information in our industry that was very well worth noting. A lot of some of the takeaways that advisors were sharing was not just around just insurance and products, but just sharing best practices of what they're doing in their business. These are all very successful individuals. So therefore, a lot of these people love being around other advisors, because then they can pick their brains and share. And they can't go anywhere. They're on a boat. So, they can go out to sea, or off to the land, but they got to get back. So, 9 days together with a lot of just successful people. So a lot of best practice sharing and a lot of travel. So, but it was fun. Who wouldn't want prosperity in their life? Doesn't that sound nice? Prosperity Life Group is a new name to the IMO space, and member companies have over a century of tradition dating back to 1914. Today, PLG is an insurance, reinsurance, and asset management company with over $25 billion in assets under management and is issuing over $2 billion of annuity business in 2024. Member companies include SUSA, Shenandoah Life, SBLI USA, and National Western Life. A- ratings with AM Best and S&P. Prosperity Asset Management is an in-house investment management team based in New York City, specializing in high-quality credit and niche asset strategies. Be on the lookout for a unique and new innovative fixed index offering this summer. For more information on Prosperity Life Group, go to www.prosperitylife.com.
Was there any common thread, any common personality trait, or thinking ability, mental trait, mantras, whatever, that they all seem to have in common?
Oh, for the advisors, for
The
sure.
advisors, yeah.
So, the common trait is, they hold themselves accountable to a very high standard. I would say that each person who was on this ship are very successful entrepreneurs who are running businesses. They're not just like salesmen selling product. Yeah, majority, actually, I don't want to be held to this, but I'm pretty sure every person there has multiple people on staff. So they are really an operating business themselves. And something that was just very apparent is if you talk to somebody, they were very respectful. They talked about their spouse, introduced their spouse. Their spouses were amazing. The people within our circle, and one of the guys shared on our mastermind call earlier today, and I was like, this is so spot on. It's just the culture and the standard, but one of the real big takeaways from him of hanging out with the advisors is seeing how their kids were actually acting on the boat and how their kids were just having conversations with them. And obviously, just how amazing these kids were. No issues, no like troubles. They were just well respected, well spoken. All the kids amongst the group, and it wasn't just us; it was the other. There was 300 people total on the boat, but just there's like a professionalism to where the kids were just very respectful, very good, well behaved, and it just goes back to, if that's your legacy, you want that as a parent. I mean, it just shows the standard that you're setting. You're being a good role model, and so that's really what a lot of what we were sharing on the ship had to do with, a lot of just best practices. Not just great people, but also how do you build a better culture for your business? What are some of the things you're doing to separate yourself? Some advisors were sharing some of the ways that they put incentive type of packages together on a quarterly basis, how they distribute to charities, how they do this, that, the other to give incentivizing metrics for their employees in order to get the best out of them. So, and once again, that goes back to like what I was seeing whenever we were, especially in Belfast. I'm going to beat up on this country, I guess, but you could just tell based off of the level of service and how slow things were going. And it was like, if they would like come over and you'd have no water in your cup and they would bring you your food finally, but it's like they wouldn't bring the water to like, fill it back up. You gotta like ask them, or you gotta like raise your hand. It was just things that like you take for granted here in America. But a lot of that has to do with, it's just a different system. That's just not their norm. They're not enticed by being incentivized and tipped. They're just getting paid better. So therefore, maybe what they're doing and their standards, they're not incentivized for the right thing. If you're working for tips, then people are usually, I guess, a little faster, at least from my very naive perspective of only being there once. That's just something I saw commonly, is just service is a little different here than over there in certain countries. But Dublin was amazing. I mean, Dublin, out of all those, Dublin was probably it felt like home. It was great.
You mentioned something before we started recording, which kind of plays into here. Judging people by their words versus their actions.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So what I was meaning by that, and it's so true, right? So especially going back to like culture. So whenever you would talk to these advisors, they're hanging out, they're chatting, they talk about the good, the bad of what's going on in their business. But one of the things that is just very apparent is the top of the top, the ones that are doing the best in the industry, the best that amongst your peers, everybody wants the gun to be the best office that they can be. They want to be like the others. And I mean, when it comes down to it, you're just setting your standard, and it just starts from the top, from the company that allowed us to go out there to that cruise ship. Just to tell you like a little bit about them before anything. So they do this fireworks show. It's like a tradition of theirs every 2 years when they do these cruise ships. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of these or not. Basically, everybody gets back on the boat. They do a fireworks show. It's a 10-minute fireworks show, but like the requests from the individual, his company, what they said to these individuals when they would actually have the fireworks come out on the water. I forgot what those ships are called that are holding the fireworks.
Barges.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically the fireworks are there. He said, all right, this is what I want you to do. Because of who we are and how fast we move, and this is what, we want the best of the best. I want you to get all 10 minutes of these fireworks. I want you to shoot them off in 5 minutes. So
whoa,
literally it was just like an amazing fireworks show. And his big thing was, look, the reason why we do this is because we just think outside the box. We think faster. We want fast. And that is just, we demand excellence at everything we do. And so sure enough, I mean, it was an amazing, amazing show because, you never see that. But 4 minutes and like 37 seconds, I think, was the 10 minutes deal. Was like the final count. But it's just one of those where also there's standards of like what you're saying and your actions being delivered. But then you got other issues where all of a sudden, if people say one thing, but their actions are different, it's all about the community. And that's why the people that are amongst our culture, we don't want our culture to ever be affected. So when I say culture, it's the not just internal culture at our company, but also the advisors that we work with. So we have a great community of advisors. And it's just apparent, especially when groups have individuals that maybe no longer are with us anymore. You may actually, you want to be buddies and you want to do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, when you leave us, you can't take us with you, or you can't come back and just, it's tricky, because at the end of the day, we got such a good, close culture here to where words are one thing, but when your actions show differently, that just lowers the standard. And the goal is obviously, as a individual, especially an entrepreneur, you want to raise the bar. You just want to keep raising the bar. How do you do that as a business owner? If you're raising your internal personal standards, the rest of the company follows you. And then once the company follows you, one of the bigger takeaways, obviously, is if the company loves the business and they're truly valuing the business, that's where the clients are going to go. The clients want to be around people, because you can't get clients if your company and the people inside your company don't value your business. And that was something very apparent of just like listening to these very successful advisors for over a week, of just why are they where they're at. There's no secret sauce, but it's just being a better, setting the standard, and being willing to actually embrace imperfection and just get better every day. So
I brought that up because you're talking culture and you're talking about excellence from the top down, looking at Belfast versus Dublin and the service you got. The communities there, were they different? Was the culture different in those two cities? Same, they are technically different countries, but what did you see in the culture that you think might have fed into the difference in service?
And I will tell you this, if you're in it feels like 7 different countries in 7 days, it all blends. But why was Dublin so great? And just like looking back and we did the same thing. So that's the thing, right? So we did the same thing in each one of these places. Christine and I and a group of people, we would go out off the ship, we would go into the country and then explore. So we'd walk, take pictures, we'd go into some stores, we'd go to lunch or whatever we would do, and then, walk around a little bit more. So it was as if that was kind of the standard. Now I'm like thinking about this in my head. So that was kind of the norm of what we were doing. And then we'd obviously go see some shows. We do some excursions too along the way. But in Dublin, if I can remember correctly, I don't think we did any excursions in Dublin. We didn't do any in Belfast. So those are the two that stand out, because like in Liverpool, we had the Beatles. So we went to a Beatles museum. We went to Waterford, which is in Ireland.
Okay.
So we actually watched and saw all that, which is incredible, by the way. But in Dublin and Belfast,
you didn't do Jameson in Dublin?
Oh, you can only do one. You can only do one. Actually, if I would have known that, yeah, I did hear some people that did do that tour, and they spoke very highly of it. So it was incredible. But we did
get
go
back to the culture, though. Yes.
Yeah. But we did. But by the way, we did go in Ireland. We went to the oldest pub in Dublin, which is called, oh man, what was it called? It's like Bravenhead or something like that. And amazing. The people, it was just the atmosphere, the music. You had people that were just genuinely happy to be there almost. It was just, I can't describe it more than it just seemed cleaner. It seemed like as we were walking around, people were just happy. Music was playing just for whatever reasons and purpose. It seems like people were just genuinely very nice to their neighbors. Nobody was rude. But then like in Belfast, it just seemed like dirtier. Like it was dirtier. In Dublin, people were a lot more in shape. I could tell you that for sure. You could just tell there was a lot more activities. People were walking more. A lot of people were just in really good shape. I didn't really see any overweight people at all in Dublin. Nothing wrong with being overweight, but I'm just saying, if you look at the difference amongst the two, but in Belfast, there was definitely like, as we were walking the streets, you had homeless people on the side, you had different things to where just kind of a little dirtier. And it's just an American, just a blue-eyed boy looking into both countries and analyzing. And then when it came down to the service, which is the big thing for me, the pizza was better in Belfast than Dublin. It wasn't as greasy as in Dublin, but it took me a lot longer to get that pizza in Belfast.
The grease had time to run off. That's why.
Yeah, correct. But I think that's really what it comes down to, is just like to leave to leave a certain place, and you had a great experience. So Dublin really set the standard, because we went there first for it, and then going to Belfast, which by the way had better pizza, at least at this particular restaurant. But it was just the way that the process of trying to, like, you got to call people over, you got to do every little bit thing. But I think, I feel bad for Belfast right now. I feel like I've butchered them on this podcast, it
What
was
about London?
London's big. London is very big, in my opinion. But the people were great. There was actually a guy, man, I forgot his name. He just actually he follows me now on Instagram. He was one of our Uber drivers. He drove us back late at night. He was incredible. So we got the rundown. So we got 2 rundowns from 2 Uber drivers. One was from Greece originally, that moved over
Greece
to London. Yeah, moved over to London when he was, I think, 12 years old. And then the other gentleman was from Indonesia. He moved to London to follow his father whenever he was 9 years old. And so we heard the story of London, how it is over there. They all hate taxes. They can't stand taxes. I was like, well, everybody can get aligned with that. They do pay a lot in taxes over there, especially even people, I think it was like $70,000 are paying, or $100,000 they're paying 30% tax. And then they're getting taxed on everything else. And I was like, oh man, that sounds terrible. But needless to say, like, very nice people, very well respected. We talked a little bit, the guy from Indonesia, and his name's slipping me. It's a hard name, and you know me with words, I can't grasp what the name was. But we actually bonded because he watches a show that I watched on Netflix called Top Boy. I love shows like that. It's a little bit more like cartel type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like British rap and the music and all this. And so when I mentioned that I watched Top Boy, he just looked in the mirror. He looked at me, he like turned around, was like, I would have never, ever guessed that you watched that. And I was like, oh, don't underestimate me. And so I was like, I love that British rap stuff. And he was like, you like that? And so he like played one of the songs from it. And it's very vulgar music. And then it was just funny watching this little Indonesia kid who he was like maybe 23, 24 years old, just like listening to music, and we were talking about it. And then I just looked at him and I go, by the way, do your parents know that you listen to this? And he goes, absolutely not. I was like, there, that's what I thought. But anyways, back to the people in London were great. It was a beautiful, beautiful country. The Uber driver knew we were from out of town, so he took us a little longer route to get to where that actual concert and that festival was going to be at. So he took us into town. He showed us, what's the Big Ben? He showed us the street that the Queen's on, that was blocked off, so we couldn't go down there. But he showed us like all the little different landmarks that we could while in the route. But yeah, and they love America. I can tell you that they love what's going on with our country. Here is financial planning software to make you shine. Retirement Analyzer software by Thomas Gold Solutions helps advisors nationwide create easy-to-understand financial plans for their clients. Today's successful advisor understands that clients are in need of advice, recommendations, and projections of possible outcomes that are provided in a financial plan. Thousands of advisors using Retirement Analyzer know that they are a formidable force in today's industry. They know that clients buy certain outcomes, which include sales of financial products. So in essence, products are not the focal point, but just part of the plan, helping them get to their desired outcome. Retirement Analyzer gives you the ability to answer any and all client questions while building plans to address certain concerns. Acclimation is a breeze, and their over-the-top user training and support platform is unparalleled in the industry today. So start today and request your 14-day trial to find out what it's like to be a part of Retirement Analyzer community of advisors. Go to retirementanalyzer.com and get started today.
How did you feel being an American over there? I mean, it's so much older. Their history, their culture is old, man. You look at those buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, in Liverpool, Liverpool, we got off the boat, and the first thing that the guy talked to us about whenever we were walking off the boat is, "You see that building right there?" And it was just like an incredible structure. Like, Liverpool looks amazing, but you're looking at the building. He goes, "That was actually the police station in the recent Batman movie." I was like, "Is that right?"
Really?
Like, yeah. And then after he said that, I looked over and I saw all these buildings. I was like, "This is Gotham." Like, it literally looks like Gotham. It's crazy. Um, from the Batman series, but it's Liverpool is great. Like, it was clean, people were nice. I have really good things to say about Liverpool. I was actually very surprised. I've never really thought or looked into Liverpool, and it was very good. But as an American, definitely, I just love the fact of coming back here. It's a little hotter in Houston than it was there. It was like 70s and 60s the whole time we were there. Great weather. Um, but just once again, thing going back to just, I think the experience we had there was incredible, but the culture here, the routines, and just, you could just feel it just feels cleaner. It feels like, I don't know, it's just hard to say. Like, you just feel so much more. There's AC um here. There's engines, so you can do like ice doesn't exist over there, I guess, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
So
tough.
there's a couple things to where you're like, you take for granted, and then you go over there. And don't get me wrong, on the Seabourn cruise, it was amazing. But like, when we stayed in the London hotel, it's just like, at the airport, it was great, but it was just like, man, this is tough. The outlets are different. You're just getting used to all these um,
Yep.
different things. And that airport is so confusing. The trains here, I mean, you're just used to jumping in a car and going. So you really got to map out your day a little more efficiently. You can't just wing it in these big countries. But I feel in here, you can just all of a sudden flick your wrists or flick your fingers, and Uber can come pick you up. They can deliver food to you. It's just a little different um, here. So it's just amazing how it's probably our technology that's the big difference maker. We couldn't even get Wi-Fi in the hotel we were at. It was incredibly like, it was, I don't know. It's just hard to explain, but love our country, and I'm happy to be back for sure. That's something that I think is one of the biggest things, especially when I'm running, because I haven't been running as
Oh,
much over the
yes.
last
Oh.
week. So now I'm getting back to my routines, and I'm cruising. I didn't count it before this. I told myself I'd do it, and I didn't. But I think through July, I'm north of like 800. I think I'm at like 830, around like 830 miles right now. So I'm closing in on that 1,000-mile goal through July. So I'm trying to get that by the end of this year. So once I do that, probably in September, then I think I have some ideas of what I'm going to do after that, just to see how much more I can do for this year. So,
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
mhm.
As we're getting ready to wrap it up, give me one or two memories that you will always remember about the trip.
This is my answer, but for food, for sure. If you're on a cruise ship, I learned quickly, and it was great food. Um, you want to have good food because that's where you're eating. Um, but I'd say one of the things, it sounds like a canned answer, but it's really not. So it would be hanging out with my wife. So genuinely getting the opportunity. So throughout all this chaos, and we actually had an opportunity where, since 6 years now, we've been parents. So, and we'll do things together. But I think this is the longest it's been in 6 years since we actually got a chance to date and be with each other. God, she's gonna like this episode. So, but for those 6 years, it had an opportunity to where, like, how are we doing? You know what I mean? It's like, how are things, just getting to see all these different places. It's almost to where in your head, especially as like a kid, when you're seeing all these things as you grow up, you're like, man, I get to travel. I can't wait to retire, travel, and do these things with your lives. We're getting to do this in our 30s. And it's like, it's pretty special in actually having somebody that you're not fighting with. You're not like, I mean, you're seeing eye to eye. You're able to just deal with just the day to day. So that's one thing that I think was one of the more beneficial things. It wasn't just all the things we got to
Mhm.
do, but
Mhm.
being with the right people, being with the right person. I'd say that was probably something that just off the top of my head stands out. And then the second one would be, I mean, There's a lot of the world that I don't know about. so, so actually getting to see other people, and I mean, literally, it was an incredible time to just meet with different people, but we're all like the same, and it's hard to. I'm not a good word person, but it's hard to explain to where like if we bumped into somebody or we talked to somebody or got to know somebody in a different country, everybody has their ups, everybody has their downs. They talk about it, but you can communicate. Like literally, we spoke to somebody from every single country that we were in, and got to know at least one individual there. Now they didn't know they were speaking on behalf of their country. Probably, I know in Northern Ireland, they really like their country, so that's for sure. But just like the history and what they do, it's just interesting that one of the main things that sticks out to me, although I gripe about food and service and other stuff, just people are really nice. I mean, people, it's just, it's incredible that there's such a big world. People live so far away from you, so many hours behind. But it was just a great experience that fortunately got to do it at the young age of 37. And now it's like, okay, I still get to like move forward and have many, many years, hopefully in this lifetime. And so now I look forward to, doing it again. I'm not a huge cruise ship guy. I can tell you that. So cruises are not really me or my wife's thing. So we did notice that, in retirement, we're probably not going to be the family that's jumping on cruises. So that's good for us to know. We know that now. So instead of like building up this thing, like it was fun, but we're just like, it's okay. But once again, so it was fun. Those are probably the two biggest things is wife and then people. So very simple answers, but that's at least to me what probably stands out. Probably stands out the most. And they genuinely, those people, like anybody we spoke to, like they love Americans. They love America. And so then it's like, obviously it's just a great feeling to be wearing that jersey as just like an American. So.
All right, Jeremy, that's a lot. That's a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm glad Christina was number one.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I did that one right. But
it came from the heart though, which means that much more.
That's right. Yep. So anyways, we very excited. We got a lot of good things coming up here in with the not just show, but we have a lot of hopefully good things coming up within things for our advisors. So stay tuned. We got some amazing trips. It seems like, man, that's all we're doing is traveling. But we got some good trips up and coming here for some of our top advisors taking place in October. Some new trips that were announced. So we're going to be continuing to travel. We love our kids. It's tough traveling with little ones. I'll tell you that. So there you go.
All right. Well, folks, this is the Advisor Mentorship Podcast, where you stretch your mind, your practice, and your horizons. Follow us so you don't miss an episode. And of course, share with others. And thanks for being with us.